You know, the big concerns about what's happening in Southern California and violence moving to Arizona, and big concerns. Our governor, along with other leaders from across the country, signed on to a statement. I'm just going to read part of it. President Trump's move to deploy California's National Guard is alarming abuse of power. Governors and the commanders in chief of their National Guard and the federal government activating them in their own borders without consulting or working with a state governor is ineffective and dangerous. That letter, or that signing on to that letter, has been roundly criticized by many in the Republican Party and many of our state leaders. Joining us to talk about that is the Senate President, Warren Petersen. Mr. President, thanks for doing this.
You bet. Thanks for having me on, Mike.
So let's talk about planning and what happens. We talked with Kevin Robinson, who's a Phoenix City Council member and spent over 36 years with Phoenix PD, very well versed in crowd control. What is the idea, or what do you think, or are you involved in plans of what if violence were to come to Arizona?
Well, this is mainly an executive function. I think what is truly alarming here, Mike, is that their focus is not on public safety. Their focus is on obstructing the Trump administration, criticizing the Trump administration. I think all of these police officers, these local law enforcement officials that are putting their lives at risk, trying to protect the citizens of California right now, I think all of them would appreciate some backup. I don't know why any of them wouldn't appreciate more assistance and more help in trying to quell the rioting. And let's be clear, this is not peaceful protesting. This is rioting. When it rises to criminal actions, to violence, to property damage, you're now talking about rioting. So what's disappointing for me to see is that two of our top executive officials in the state, they should be supporting the Trump administration. They should be calling for public safety measures, and instead they're siding with the rioters. Find that unbelievable.
Have you had conversations, because as being the Senate president, have you talked with the governor directly or her people? Have you talked with the attorney general or her people about their plans and about what would happen? Would they call up the guard if violence happened here?
Well, that's what we're asking for. I haven't spoken to them directly. I have had some briefings from DPS about, of course, what, possible rioting around the Senate. So we have been briefed on some of the things action that DPS will be taking and things they'll be doing. And, I applaud DPS for that. And I appreciate their efforts. I have confidence in them that they'll keep Arizona safe. I do think one of the reasons why this has not necessarily spread quickly to Arizona is I think people are watching how tough the response will be in California. I also think that in Arizona, we have a lot of great Republican sheriffs. We've got a lot of great law enforcement, local law enforcement that are tough on crime. And I think that has been providing a good deterrent that has been lacking in California.
And the Valley has done a good job, Phoenix, with the Black Lives Matter protests and others, the city of Phoenix, in talking with organizers of protests ahead of time and how they can avoid any kind of confrontation. I think it works fairly well in the Black Lives Matter protests. So they've done this in the past. And when I talked with Councilman Robinson, he said the same kind of negotiation is going on now. Do you know if DPS is involved in those conversations with protest organizers?
I hadn't heard that. I had just simply, like I said, I've been briefed on what kind of action they're ready to take at the Senate, at the Capitol. I haven't been given briefings as far as beyond that. If they've done that in the past, that wouldn't surprise me. I do feel like this is a competent group. I feel like, again, I applaud them for their efforts, and they do have, we see this in Phoenix, we see this in Tucson, where you've got some local politicians that are not very supportive of our local law enforcement and our police, but I think the rest of the state, your elected officials broadly from across the rest of the state are supportive of them, and I think that helps them in a situation like this where we're threatened by riots.
Are you comfortable at the Capitol? Many of these protests make their way and they end on the Capitol grounds. Are you comfortable that the security around the Capitol is good enough that you're safe and the people that work inside the legislature are safe?
Yeah, I feel like with where we're at right now, I would continue to bring in our senators. We did have a situation when we were passing pro-life legislation where there was some rioting and some property damage, and our law enforcement, they acted quickly. They were able to secure the building. If it raises to a level like that, then, I would be concerned about bringing our folks down. But with where we're sitting right now, I'm comfortable with bringing our senators in. If it escalates to a dangerous situation, then, I will send people home, or we'll make sure that people don't come to the Capitol until it's safe.
There's one last thing if you don't mind, I'd like you to comment on. The governor vetoed a piece of legislation that would stop Chinese ownership of land near military installations in Arizona. She vetoed that, and then she came out with a statement that said, if the legislature is serious about protecting Arizonans from foreign adversaries, I ask them to send me new legislation with my changes that will crack down on the government of China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, and other foreign adversaries and close the loopholes in their weak and watered down bill. Were there discussions during the writing of that piece of legislation to expand it to other countries, and why this statement now?
Exactly, Mike. That's exactly the issue. She's vetoed 5 of these bills. She's never approached the legislature. This is purely reactive. This is a desperate move by the governor. She's obviously running for office. She sees that she lost on this issue. I hope she's sincere. Obviously, we'll work with her on this issue. We've put 5 bills on her desk. She's vetoed all those bills. She's not approached us. She's not talked to us. We'd be happy to engage, draft a good bill, and put that on her desk and have her signature. I hope she's sincere. Sadly, I feel like this is more rhetoric, just like the border rhetoric. She knows that our citizens want the border secure, so she says she'll secure the border, but then when we put stuff on her desk, she vetoes it. We will absolutely put something on her desk, welcome her feedback. I haven't seen it. She hasn't sent it to us. Nobody's reached out to me. But she has, actions speak louder than words. She's vetoed 5 of our bills that deal with national security in China. If she's serious about it and if she's sincere, I hope so. I'm always an optimist, but her actions have not matched her current rhetoric.
As a voter, here's where the frustration is, and I'm sure you're familiar with it, is that we watch pieces of legislation, and this governor's vetoed multiple pieces of legislation. Is there blame on both sides? Is there a breakdown in communication between leadership in the legislature and the governor's office that they're not surprised when these bills cross her desk? She had to know that this bill was coming. Did she suggest, or did her office suggest, any revisions or changes to this legislation so she would have signed it?
No, not that I'm aware of. And obviously, this was introduced in January or February, so it's been out there for months. Let's get real. I'm a straight shooter. These are the facts. She had no interest in this bill until I announced that we were going to put it up for a veto override. As soon as I said we're going to put it up for a veto override, suddenly she cares about protecting Arizona from China. Great. Well, let's do it. I hope we can come to a solution. I'm never interested in putting anything on the governor's desk that is going to be vetoed. And she has signed quite a few of my bills, and I appreciate that. But the fact of the matter is, on these issues with securing America or Arizona from China, she has been silent on this issue until now.
I always appreciate the time on this, and let's hope that there is no violence in Arizona, but I appreciate your concerns and your statements, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks, Mike. Take care.
All right, that is Senate President Warren Petersen spending a few moments with us.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Catch up on Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast, and click the button in the middle to subscribe.